Tonight, open your fridge. Look at what's inside. If you're into health, you've probably heard of the paleo diet. Maybe you've tried it. The idea sounds simple enough. Eat like our ancestors did, and you'll look and feel the way they did. Lean, strong, free of modern disease. There's only one problem. Nobody actually knows what our ancestors ate. The paleo diet, the keto diet, the carnivore diet, the fruit diet. Every single one of them claims to be based on how ancient humans ate. And every single one of them is wrong. Because the truth about what prehistoric humans put in their mouths is way weirder, way more varied, and way more fascinating than any diet book has ever told you. They didn't eat 3 meals a day. They didn't eat meat at every meal. Some of them barely ate meat at all. And what they actually ate on a good day might completely change how you look at your own dinner tonight. This is what ancient humans actually ate in a day. And the story starts not with a hunt, but with something much more surprising. Here's the picture most of us have in our heads. A muscular caveman carrying a huge spear, dragging a woolly mammoth back to the cave. Meat on every stone plate, protein all day long. Real men eat meat. It's a great story. It makes for cool movies. It's just not what the evidence says. Let's start with a number that might surprise you. For most of human history, when we're talking 95% of the time our species has existed, we got the majority of our calories from plants. Not meat. Plants. Archaeologists have been studying this for decades, and the evidence comes from everywhere. From the microscopic plant residue on ancient teeth, from the wear patterns on chewing surfaces, from the fossilized poop or coprolites our ancestors left behind, from the contents of their stomachs like Otzi the Iceman, whose last meal was more than half grain and plants. And here's the kicker. In the few hunter-gatherer societies that survived into modern times, the ones anthropologists actually went and lived with, most of the food was gathered, not hunted. The Hadza people of Tanzania, for example, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer groups on Earth, get roughly 70% of their calories from plants. Women do most of the gathering, men do most of the hunting, and the hunting succeeds about 1 week out of every 4. Think about that. 3 out of 4 weeks the men come home empty-handed. Everyone still eats, because the women have been gathering. This is the first big myth to let go of. Ancient humans weren't just hunters, they were gatherers first, and their diet reflected it. But here's the thing, it wasn't like they ate salads. What they ate was far stranger than that. Let's walk through an actual day. You wake up. The sun is just coming up. You slept on a bed of leaves and grass, probably next to a dozen other people. You stretch. You're hungry. What's for breakfast? Nothing, that's right. Ancient humans didn't eat breakfast, at least not the way we think of it. There was no cereal, no toast, no eggs and bacon. There wasn't even a concept of 3 meals a day. Food wasn't stored in a pantry, it wasn't in a fridge. If there was food left over from yesterday, you might share a little bit of it. But usually you start your day hungry, and that was normal. Anthropologists call this feast or famine, but it wasn't as dramatic as it sounds. It wasn't that they were starving all the time. It was that eating happened when there was food, not on a schedule. So you set out. The women go one way, carrying babies and digging sticks. The men go another, carrying spears and bows. The kids go with the women, learning which plants are good to eat and which ones will kill you. The first food of the day is usually something you find along the way. A handful of berries. Some wild honey you find in a tree. A few tubers you dig out of the ground with a stick. Maybe some insects if you're lucky. None of it is a meal, it's just eating. A little bit here, a little bit there. Constant snacking, basically, from sunup to sundown. And here's what's interesting. All of it is raw. No cooking yet. Not because they couldn't. Fire was mastered at least 1 million years ago. But because during the day, out walking, you don't build a fire every time you're hungry. You just eat it the way you find it. The real cooking happens at night. But before we get there, let's talk about some of the things on the menu that you'd probably never consider food. If you sat down with an ancient human and asked for a menu, you'd probably leave hungry. Because a lot of their favorite foods are things most of us wouldn't touch. Let's start with the obvious one, insects. Termites, grasshoppers, ants, caterpillars, all of them packed with protein, all of them free, all of them easy to find. In many parts of the world, insects were and still are a major food source. The Hadza eat up to 40% of their protein from bees and bee larvae during honey season. Then there are the organs. When early humans did manage to kill an animal, they didn't waste a single bit. The meat you see in grocery stores, the steaks, the chops, the breast fillets, those are the boring parts. Our ancestors went straight for the good stuff. The liver, the kidneys, the brain, the eyeballs, the bone marrow. And it makes sense. Those are the most nutrient-dense parts of the animal. Liver has more vitamins and minerals per gram than any muscle meat. Bone marrow is loaded with fat, which your brain needs to run. The eyeball, well, it's mostly fat too, and it's easy to get to. Then there's something you've probably never thought about: the stomach contents. When hunters killed a grazing animal, they'd eat the half-digested plants from its stomach. Disgusting, maybe to you, but those plants were already processed, already full of nutrients, and in a world where vegetables are tough and hard to digest, this was like getting a pre-made salad. And we haven't even talked about the weirdest one yet. You want to know what the real paleo superfood was? It wasn't grass-fed beef. It wasn't kale smoothies. It was brains. Animal brains were one of the most valuable foods in the prehistoric world. And here's why. Your brain is the fattest organ in your body. 60% of it is fat. And the kind of fat it needs most, DHA, the omega-3 fatty acid, is most concentrated in other brains. For a species whose brain was tripling in size over a few million years, this was basically evolutionary rocket fuel. Eat enough animal brains, and your own brain works better. It's a feedback loop. Some anthropologists even think this is how it started. Early humans didn't hunt big animals first. They found them dead, and the first thing they ate was the brain. Because it's easy to get to, it's soft, and it's packed with the exact nutrients your brain needs to get bigger. The skull you can break open with a rock. The brain is right there. No hunting required. Just scavenging and a little bit of courage. It sounds gross to us, but think about it from evolution's perspective. If you're an ape that accidentally eats another animal's brain, and it makes your brain work better so you're better at finding more brains, that's how you get smart. Of course, eventually we got so smart that we started cooking, and cooking changed everything. If you want to know when the human diet really changed, don't look at farming. Look at cooking. Richard Wrangham, the Harvard anthropologist, argues that cooking food is what made us human, and his argument is pretty convincing. Cooked food gives you more calories. It's easier to chew. It's easier to digest. Cooked meat gives you about 50% more energy than raw meat. Cooked starch gives you up to 100% more energy than raw starch. Before cooking, we had huge jaws and giant teeth because we spent half the day chewing. After cooking, our jaws got smaller. Our teeth got smaller. Our guts got shorter. And all that extra energy went somewhere else. Our brains. The earliest evidence of cooking fire is around 1.5 million years ago. Some say even earlier, but whenever it started, it changed the game. Suddenly, you could eat foods that were impossible before. Tough roots, hard grains, tough meat. All of it became edible. All of it became nutritious. And at the end of a long day, that's what everyone gathered around the fire for. The one real meal of the day. The big cooking session. Whatever was gathered, whatever was hunted, all of it goes into the pot or onto the fire. Everyone shares. Everyone talks. And this is where the day's nutrition really happens. A mix of roots, fruits, maybe some meat if they were lucky, some insects, some honey, some seeds. A little bit of everything. Nothing measured, nothing counted, just whatever's there. And here's the final surprise about this diet. It wasn't perfect. There were lean years, there were famines, there were times when food was scarce and people went hungry. There were parasites, there were infections. Ancient humans didn't live as long as we do. But in one way, their diet was healthier than ours. It was diverse, really diverse. A typical hunter-gatherer might eat 100 to 200 different types of food in a year. Fruits, roots, leaves, seeds, nuts, insects, meat, fish, shellfish, mushrooms, honey. All of it, all the time. The average person today eats about 20 to 30 different foods. Most of them are the same handful of crops: wheat, rice, corn, soy, sugar. You don't have to go back to eating insects and raw meat. Nobody's saying that. But there's a lesson here. Buried under 200,000 years of human history. The healthiest diet isn't the one that matches what our ancestors ate. It's the one that matches how our ancestors ate. A little bit of everything, a lot of plants, some meat sometimes. Honey for dessert, and a good long walk before dinner, and maybe every once in a while skip breakfast. Because you weren't designed to eat 3 times a day. You were designed to find food when you're hungry, and that's what your body expects. Thanks for watching. If you learned something today, hit subscribe.